Shit. Radio.
That's fucking great, man.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Shit Radio, an unrefined podcast for the everyman. We first would like to thank all our new viewers, subscribers, and thank you all for the comments. We do care. We will respond to them. Please remember to like and subscribe. Timestamps are below, so you can jump to any of the topics, and we have some fun topics tonight. First topic on the show tonight is going to be albums that have grown on you over time. So these are going to be albums that when they first came out, you liked them, you didn't love them. But over time, you really grew to appreciate them. And the first person I'm going to hand this over to get his list is going to be Liarz. Liarz, what are your albums?
Sure. Hey, everyone. Thanks for being here. Welcome to another show. My albums are the first one that I'm gonna talk about is from one of my favorite bands, actually. And I never liked when I was younger, I never liked the early stuff. And I especially didn't like this album because I just thought it was plain weird. But as I've gotten older and your tastes change as you get older, or just as time goes on, your tastes change. And I'm talking about Pink Floyd and their debut album, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn. So this was their debut album, and it was the only album that featured Syd Barrett before he left. I'm not going to get into the troubles that he had. They're documented well enough. If you want to learn about Syd Barrett, look him up. Very interesting character, very, very talented man, very tragic case. So it's very psychedelic. It's very LSD influenced, acid influenced, very much influenced by Syd Barrett. Now, the sound of Pink Floyd changed after this album, obviously, because he was no longer part of it. And then it changed even more after, say, Roger Waters left as well. So I just want to talk about this album for a little bit. There's some songs on it that were commercially successful or somewhat successful. I mean, you have Arnold Lane and See Emily Play. Those are like some singles off that album. Most Pink Floyd fans will recognize those songs right away. But it's the rest of the stuff. A lot of it, like when I was younger, to me, it just sounded like sounds, and there was really no cohesion in the album. But as I got older and I listened to it again, and I was like, you know what, this is pretty. It's very, very experimental, and I think I can appreciate that more as I got older. What do you guys think?
I actually have never really listened to that album. The only song that I really know off there is Arnold Lane, due to our mutual friend Arnold Lane from Bad Apples Forum. But I know that a lot of people who are audiophiles and big into music really, really enjoy that album. But to me, I'm more of a mainstream Pink Floyd fan. I'm not a hardcore one. But I think it's an interesting choice, and I really like the way you described it. And I'm going to go kind of give it a listen to now to see if it changes any of my thoughts.
Sure. That's great. The next one I was thinking of, and I used to borrow this off my brother. He was a big Van Halen fan. And let's say I appreciated Van Halen. Didn't really like them. Really didn't like Van Hagar with the albums with Sammy Hagar. But I actually put this one on not too long ago, and I was like, hey, this is a solid album. Like this is at their peak. They're pretty good here, and it's OU812. They've got it was a number one album for them, and I think they went on a string of number one albums after this with Sammy Hagar. I'm not sure, but this was definitely on the Billboard number one album for them. So, and it had hits like When It's Love. Everybody knows that song. Finish What You Started. So, I think the other song is Black and Blue. And I always like the song Pobble Wobble. It's the last song on the first side. I always remember that because we had to switch the tape after it. But Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen with Sammy Hagar, Michael Anthony, and Alex Van Halen. Check it out. A lot of people like to slag on Van Hagar. It's not as bad as Gary Sharon Van Halen. Probably not as good as David Lee Roth Van Halen, but definitely worth the check. What do you think?
Now, I'm a giant David Lee Roth Van Halen guy. I absolutely adore that era of Van Halen, but I don't hate Van Hagar. I've always enjoyed it, and When It's Love is a damn good tune. I don't consider it a great album, but I can see how it would grow on you. I could see why over time you'd appreciate it more. Van Hagar wasn't bad. I mean, sure as hell wasn't David Lee Roth, but it wasn't bad. What do you got next, bud?
Okay, so the last one, and I had to pick an album from them because it's basically their whole catalog that really just grew on me with time. And I really I kind of did a deep dive into this band a little bit to learn more about them because my background is Irish, as we've talked about on the show before, and the lead singer of this band is Irish as well. And I'm talking about Thin Lizzy here. So, ooh. And yeah, man. And, the Jailbreak album is pretty spectacular. Throw that on if you don't really know Thin Lizzy and you want to get into them. That's probably the album to throw on. That or the Black Rose album. Just for clarification too, I was talking about Phil Lynott. He's the bassist, and he's from Dublin, Ireland. But so yeah, the Jailbreak album. Everybody knows the song Jailbreak by Thin Lizzy, and of course they know The Boys Are Back in Town, right? Those are probably their two biggest hits. One thing that I wanted to say about Thin Lizzy that I did learn is they were one of the first bands to use the two guitar system, like to have a rhythm guitarist play alongside with the lead guitarist. And once I found that out, I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. And I did, I confirmed it, and I did a lot of reading on it. And they were one of the first to do that. So, I mean, they're very innovative in that respect. And
Cowboy Song is criminally underrated.
Oh, dude, Cowboy Song is so good, man. Yes.
Dude, I'm a Thin Lizzy guy, so I mean, I absolutely adore Thin Lizzy. Cowboy Song is one of their best. It's amazing. Thin Lizzy doesn't get the the recognition it deserves. One of my favorites from them is Black Rose, a rock legend. That's one of my favorite albums. Waiting for an Alibi. It's rock in its purest form. Like our last episode, we talk about overproduction and rock. And when you listen to Thin Lizzy, there's no overproduction. It is just raw. It is real. God, I love Thin Lizzy. That's a really good choice. And Jailbreak is, it's their most commercially known album. It's their most successful album, but it's a damn good album.
It sure is, man. It sure is. And front to back, you can listen to it, and you won't be disappointed because there's not really a bad song on it. So check out Thin Lizzy, man. Give them some respect. Give them some love because they deserve it. They're that good.
I mean, Vagabond of the Western World is probably my favorite Thin Lizzy song, and it just doesn't get the respect. Thin Lizzy put out so much music in such a short period of time, and it's perfect barroom music. Like, if you're playing pool, you're shooting darts, you're having a few beers, Thin Lizzy is like Creedence Clearwater Revival, but, the Irish version of that. It's just perfect background music, perfect, party music, perfect just being a man music. I just love Thin Lizzy.
Nice.
Like Wasted.
Hello.
Hi. So Liarz just gave us a bunch of great albums, and I actually like everyone he said. Each one of the albums he brought up. I guess I can't say that because the Pink Floyd one I really don't know the original one, but the Van Halen and Thin Lizzy, those are two really good albums that I can understand growing on a person over time. Now, Wasted, I asked you. Yeah.
Can I just say one more thing about Thin Lizzy?
Absolutely.
Because it was really cool. If you're ever in Dublin, downtown, they have a statue of Phil Lynott in downtown Dublin, and it's the coolest thing ever, man. Because he's just standing there with his bass, and it's just, if you're ever in Dublin, it's a must see. It is a must see. Sorry.
No, that's really good information. And folks, if you're in Dublin or if you're one of our Irish listeners, feel free to chime in. Go visit it. Wasted. You got albums that over time that have really grown on you?
Yeah, I suppose the first one was Angel Dust by Faith No More. I like the Real Thing by Faith No More in probably late 80s, like 1989. That came out, but that was kind of like polished. Even though it's kind of weird lyrically, it's like polished and like could sound a bit like a sort of normal record at that time in my life, as a teenager. But then when I heard Angel Dust, I'd never heard anything, I just couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand the lyrics because they don't make any sense. It just went from very simple, like, the real thing, type of lyrics to mumble a jackhammer. It didn't make sense. And then sonically, they just changed from being like almost sounding like a kind of 80s rock band to just sounding, having strings and a lot of instrumentation and like sound effects and rapping. And Patton was went from singing more like a hard rock singer to like just screaming and making loads of dog noises and monkey sounds, and then going into like opera, like there were like so many different types of songs. Like I listened to that album maybe 2 or 3 times, and I just like I couldn't really understand it. But eventually, after I'd listened to it over and over, I started to like be able to process it and understand it. I mean, this is like 92, I think. So I mean, it's just maybe other people who are like listening to more experimental music, but for me, I was like 17 or something. So it took me a long time to like really comprehend that. But over time, I've realized that I've listened to it so much now that I almost I don't know, compared to what I've listened to since then, it now is almost like easy listening music. And the song structures are all there. It isn't really that crazy now. But I think it's just grown on me. And I think it just is quite an influential record. Like it did change rock music as much as any other band did. They were bringing in the sort of black. It's like horror, There's tracks on there like Jizzlopper. I remember like hearing it on a live album. They did live at Sheffield. It was just on the radio, I think, not an album. And before the song, Pan said something like, "What do you want for Christmas? How's about a bad trip?" But there's also like comedy songs on it, like RV, where he's like singing as a redneck in a trailer park. And then half the songs are about beating off or something. Mm-hmm. I think like Midlife Crisis. I mean, that's supposed to be the single. That's what I didn't understand, is that it's not really that commercial, and neither is Small Victory. But yeah, there was things like Malpractice, which they don't really have a melody or a song. It's just very, very, very heavy. And some things like Smaller and Smaller, I've never really heard that. I think one of the bonus tracks called Easy, they used that as a single because they didn't really have any singles. And they
have a video for it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a remake of a Lionel Richie song.
Yeah, the Commodores song, yeah. But it wasn't really. I'm not sure if it was really on my album. I think they added it. I'm not sure. They definitely.
I think it was on like a bonus, release.
Yeah, I think, and the other thing was the label before it came out. The record company was saying that it was commercial suicide. But they went with it, and it did all right.
It's funny because after Faith No More's first album, they could have been. It's Mike Patton, right? He's what's behind Faith No More. I actually read this today. Mike Patton made the decision, whether he was conscious or not, to become a professional musician instead of a rock star, right? And that statement holds a lot of truth, because they may, like you have, like you just said, Wasted, you have like record executives saying that this is career suicide and whatnot, blah blah blah. I really don't think Mike Patton gave a flying fuck. He was going to do what he wanted to do musically, and I think he achieved what he wanted to do, what he wanted in regards to making music.
Yeah, because he's done.
Mr. Bungle.
Yeah, Wasted right now is on location live at a 7-Eleven in Taiwan. We don't know if China's invaded or if it's just the local residents, taking his phone away. But once again, we've lost Wasted. We think he'll be back.
Solid choice though with Angel Dust. It's a great album. Highly recommend. Highly recommend it if you haven't listened to it. What do you have on your list, Brasky?
Well, I have a few on my list, and I will definitely start talking about them here. So the first one that I have on my list that I think everyone should listen to, and I actually started listening to when I was a super little kid. My dad had a cassette tape of it, and he'd be taking me to the bus stop, and he'd be cranking this up, or we'd go to the grocery store. This would always be in his tape deck, and it's Full Moon Fever by Tom Petty. It's his first studio album away from the Heartbreakers, and it's got guest appearances by Jeff Lynne on it, Roy Orbison, and George Harrison. It's also probably his most commercially successful album. It's got all the songs you know on there. For instance, it's got Free Fallin', which I think is Tom Petty's most well-known song, most popular song. It's got I Won't Back Down. It's got Love Is a Long Road, which is the song from the GTA 6 teaser trailer. It's got Running Down a Dream, I Facing the Crowd. But my favorite out of all these is actually You're So Bad. It's just a really, really good rock song. I really enjoy the whole album, and as I've gotten older, I've really appreciated it more, especially realizing that a lot of people contributed to this album. For instance, George Harrison is the acoustic guitar and backing vocals on I Won't Back Down. You got Roy Orbison doing the backing vocals for Zombie Zoo. And Del Shannon, who, if you don't know who Del Shannon is, he sang the song Runaway. And I absolutely adore Del Shannon because my dad used to watch a stupid show called Crime Story. And that was the opening song, was Runaway by Del Shannon. And it was one of his favorites, so we used to have to always see it. But on Barnyard Noises, he does the Hello City Listeners interlude, and it's really great. But Tom Petty's Full Moon Fever is definitely an album that, as I've aged, as I've listened to it more, I just really appreciate. It's great overall. Do you guys have any thoughts on that album?
For sure. Just looking at the track listing, Free Fallin', it's synonymous with Tom Petty. When you think of Tom Petty, this is probably the first song that you go to. Agreed with you on You're So Bad. Great song. Running Down a Dream, I Won't Back Down. I mean, the list goes on, right? So, and sure, like the guest appearances on the album. I mean, you just, when you have that kind of clout, and you can recruit these A-listers to come on your album, it's pretty cool. And I think Tom Petty does it. Sometimes guest appearances could get a little take away from the flow of the album or the direction of the album, but I think Tom Petty gets them and does a perfect job with everybody on this great album.
I remember, in my youth, because now I'm an older man, GTA San Andreas came out, and Running Down a Dream is one of the songs on K-Dust radio, and I just remember all the shit I used to do, all the drive-bys and the flying the plane into the, stealing the plane from the military base and all that, and just running down the dream in the background. It just really is something that kind of, you remember your whole life, that Tom Petty's album really, was everywhere, and it speaks to a certain time, and it brings you back to that time, and it's great nostalgia, but it's really aged incredibly well. So that's my first one. Wasted, you're back. You gave us one already. Do you got a second one? Wasted. Okay, Wasted's not back. So sorry, folks, for technical difficulties with Wasted. I guess I'll go and give you guys another one. My next one's going to be Jar of Flies by Alice in Chains. It's their second acoustic album they put out, but it's my favorite Alice in Chains album. It's a great album just to kind of sit back and really collect your thoughts. If you're going through some shit, it's a good album to listen to. The track listing on it, of course, I'll go over. You got Rotten Apple, which I'm not a big fan of. Nutshell, which is probably my favorite Alice in Chains song. I Stay Away acoustic. No Excuses acoustic. Wasp and the Whale, which is an instrumental. Don't Follow, which is probably my second favorite Alice in Chains song. And Swing on This, which I'm also about. But when you got 1, 2, 3, 4, you got 4 to 7 songs that are just killer. And Lane Staley's vocals on that album are haunting. I've always thought that Lane Staley sounds better acoustic. The only song this doesn't have is that would be my Lane Staley favorites is one he did with Mad Season, which is Long Gone Day. But that and River of Deceit, which was also Mad Season. But this is probably Lane Staley at his vocal prime. It's probably the rawest you're ever going to hear Alice in Chains. I just really enjoy the album. Liarz?
Lane Staley, I don't want to say he's underrated as a vocalist, but he might very well be. He's one of the greatest vocalists of our generation, without a doubt. And I don't think he gets the recognition he rightfully deserves because he died at such a young age. I'm not going to get into the tragedy that was Lane Staley, and it really was. If you want to find that out, there's lots of information to look that up. But there were times when Jerry Cantrell was taking over lead vocals for him because he was so messed up. But the songs that he did sing, he's got a very unique voice, and I think you described it when you said it was haunting. I think that's the perfect adjective to describe his voice. Lane Staley was one of the best. And this, I'll give this album another listen. It's been many years since I've listened to it. I listened to of Alice in Chains. I actually recently listened to Dirt, and it's the lyrics. They're really heavy. The lyrics. He's very messed up on drugs, and the lyrics reflect that, and it's difficult to listen to. It's a period in time in my life, things were happening in my real life, whatever, and not with me, but friends of mine. And to listen to somebody struggling like that and to be able to put it in such an amazing art form is incredible. But I will give this a listen for sure. I appreciate this recommendation, so I'm gonna definitely Jar of Flies up next.
Liarz, what you're saying right now is completely relates to how I feel about this album. Like, it speaks to me. Like, in the current environment that we live in right now, which I don't care what your political affiliation is, the world right now is crazy, and it is for everybody, no matter what your feelings are. And if you listen to a song like Nutshell, it really, really cuts through, and it kind of goes, okay, yeah. And it speaks to me in a way that I wouldn't say it soothes me, but it makes me think. And if an album can make you think, and an album can make you feel emotions, it's great. And when it first came out, of course, I was a kid. I think I was 10 when the album came out. So it was just another Alice in Chains thing, which was all over the radio because Alice in Chains was one of the biggest bands back in the day. They were, the forefront of grunge. In my opinion, they're the greatest grunge band ever. It's not even a question. But when you really listen to the lyrics of a lot of the songs, like Don't Follow, you can really hear somebody expressing their pain and expressing what they're going through. And if you're ever going through a bad time in your life, I just think Jar of Flies is an album that really kind of, I don't want to say it can guide you, but it will kind of understand the feelings that you're going through, or the feelings that maybe you're not going through a hard time, but your friend is. you can kind of understand where they are. And that's why Jar of Flies to me is so important. And as I've gotten older, I've really have grown to love the album. I appreciated it when it first came out, but this one is definitely probably by far the most that's grown on me over time that I can look back and go, oh, wow, this is brilliance. This is an artist speaking in a way. It was like, how do I say this? Like gangster rap, how it came out and it was describing what the scene was in LA and describing what the scene was in the Bronx, and it was real. This is probably the most real you were going to find rock music in the 90s, especially Jar of Flies.
Agreed.
And I think that really speaks to, as you get older, appreciating it, the authenticity of the actual album. So Jar of Flies to me is an album that has definitely grown on me as I've aged, and I totally understand what you were talking about when you said that you weren't going through some shit, but your friend was, and kind of listening to some Alice in Chains, you could kind of get a feeling of the pain they were going through or where their mind was at, which if an album can do that, it's really impressive. For the folks that are listening, if anything has, any album has impacted you in that way, or brought up that emotion in you, please let us know. Put it down in the comments. If you disagree with us, please let us know also. We just like to hear everything. We like the feedback. Wasted, you're back now, right?
Yep.
All right, so there's not any like Chinese invasion and some Taiwanese mobster hasn't kidnapped you?
No, I'm scanning the area.
Fantastic. Do you have a second album that really has grown on you over time?
Megadeth's The System Has Failed. I think it came out in 2004, and that was probably after they did all the a couple of kind of grunge or art rock records in the late 90s. And when I listened to it, I just thought, it's just another Megadeth album. But they've released a lot since then, like United Abominations, 13, Dystopia more recently. One about the dying, the sick, the dying, and the dead. But when I go back,
that's the latest one, yeah.
Yeah, when I go back now, I've been listening to The System Has Failed, and it's very good, and there's no thrills to it, no frills. Normally I just listen to Rust in Peace. I always go back to listen to Rust in Peace, but I found myself listening to The System Has Failed just as much. It's a bit harder, but yeah, it's hard to deny that Rust in Peace is probably their best. I'm surprised that The System Has Failed is just is almost to me equal to Rust in Peace at this point. I think maybe, I'm not sure, but I think is it Chris Poland? Did he come back for System Has Failed album? And I also like the theme of the album. Like The System Has Failed, it really suits the times that we're living in right now. Like Blackmail the Universe, that's the first one. Can't Die Dead Enough. I don't know. I think Mustaine was on a real sort of he was on a comeback, trying to prove himself again. So the music's very old school Megadeth. So I listen to that quite a lot now, which I never really thought at the time I would. I just thought it was like another Megadeth album.
Coming off Risk and The World Needs a Hero, they were definitely suffering, and suffering commercially. Those two albums were real. I don't know if they were. I don't want to say they weren't real Megadeth albums, but they were definitely different. And the real funny thing about The System Has Failed is the cover. You got that skull machine. It's very predominant throughout many Megadeth albums, and he's handing out, or he's in line, and in line, there's George Bush in line, and there's the Clintons in line as well, along with some other prominent businessmen or politicians. And Dave Poland did come back for that. Chris Poland was lead guitar on that. So yeah, he did return for this album. And it's Megadeth, man. It's of the Megadeth albums that I have, and I have a few. That one I probably do play the most. It's a solid Megadeth album.
Yeah, it doesn't let up right until the end. There's still really good songs. Like back in the day, the pace of the album, it keeps up very well as well.
Mhm.
And I think there's an instrumental as well, very like heavy instrumental towards the end.
Well, Wasted. That's an interesting choice. I'm not the biggest Megadeth fan. I only really know their 80s stuff, so I'd be talking on my ass if I was going to pretend I knew the album you were talking about. But I will throw it up on the old YouTube and give it a listen. Wasted. You said you had one more album. What would that be, my friend?
By Your Side by Black Crowes. Like I think Shake Your Moneymaker came out kind of around Use Your Illusion time era, so I really like that album. And Southern Harmony was almost like kind of predated grunge, but it kind of predicted grunge as well. Southern Harmony, but Southern Harmony is like a really good, like almost like experimental album that really worked really well, even though they're kind of like a retro band. And then they had like Amorica and Snake and Three Charms, or was it Three Snakes and a Charm?
Three Snakes and a Charm, yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of like grower albums, as in they're much more subtle. And I kind of like them. It has one of them has Amorica has Wiser Time on it, but then By Your Side, it's like they were trying to. I didn't like it at the time because it was like they were trying to be like a stadium rock band, like Aerosmith or Rolling Stones again. So I didn't really like it, but over time, I see it as almost like a part of the Shake Your Moneymaker and Southern Harmony albums, because it's more like just like hard rock. It's a little bit poppy, and it has like some choirs on it or something on Go See the Congregation, like later, like there's some gospel parts. But the first like 3 tracks, Go Faster, Stop Kicking My Heart Around, and By Your Side. By Your Side's like a kind of remake of Jealous Again, but for stadiums. So I didn't like that at the time, but now when you go back and listen to it, it's a pretty solid like hard rock album. And then I don't think they really did another. They never really did another one. Like War Paint is good, but it's much more like understated, like more like something Grateful Dead would make. It's got like 1 single on it or something. And Lions is all right, but yeah, I think By Your Side is a pretty good album. So I've been listening to that because I'm kind of bored of the first 2, even though they're classics. But By Your Side is still it's kind of a fun album to listen to if you like Aerosmith or the Stones.
See, no, I don't get the Black Crowes, and I never have. To me, like, because I'm a millennial, and I know you guys are Generation Xers, but to me, it just seemed kind of like Generation Xers Nickelback. I know it might sound like a real asshole thing to say, but I don't get the Black Crowes. Like, I know they were kind of bluesy, but I don't know. It feels like safe mom rock. It seems like something that, you know, your middle management person would be listening to driving in their Volvo to work.
Yeah, they were really out of time, even at the time, as in they weren't really that fashionable. But Chris Robinson, he was a really good singer, and those first 2 albums are really good, like the debut album. But yeah, it is very retro rock. It didn't really, like I said, even fit in with the grunge era. They were a bit like out of step, even with the current music scene. You know, so. Yeah, it's a sort of album that, you know, like you thought maybe Izzy Stradlin would be on, you know? Like if Izzy Stradlin was going to be on a band, it would be, he would join the Black Crowes or something.
To me, I lump in the Black Crowes of like Dave Matthew Band and Fish, like that type of music. Like they're harder, of course, but that kind of, you know, early 70s vibe, but they were in the 90s and early 2000s. It never connected with me. Liarz, you're older than me. Did the Black Crowes connect with you? Because with me, it was just like a swing and a miss.
Love them. I love them. I've seen them multiple times live. They put on a killer show. Their first album, it's probably their most commercially successful album, and everybody loves that album. It's got Hard to Handle on it. It's got Jealous Again on it, and She Talks to Angels. Yeah, and Southern Harmony. So the 3 next albums: Southern Harmony, Amorica, and Three Snakes and One Charm. Man, I love all 3 of those albums. And I remember By Your Side. I bought it when it came out, and I didn't like it. so I stopped listening. But I didn't listen to it anymore. They had some good albums afterwards. The live one that they had, Before the Frost Until the Freeze, it was filmed in a barn, I believe, in front of a small audience. Great. It's like a live album, but it's not really a live album because there's only like 20 people there. And check it out. I like it, and I'll go back to By Your Side because I felt the same way about it as Wasted was describing it. That it was just too kind of poppy and too kind of wasn't after Amorica, which is I think a masterpiece of an album. I thought it was a letdown. So that's the second album that you guys recommended tonight that I'll go back and listen to. First one, Jar of Flies, and this one, By Your and then this one, By Your Side, for sure. I'll check them both out.
All right. Well, I guess I'm on to my final two. Gentlemen, I like that you came up with some albums. Audience, I hope you go check these albums out. Matt, remember, music is one to one's personal taste. So some things we like, you might not like. Let us know. The one for me that kind of speaks to my childhood. Like every time I listen to this album now, I can remember being a teenager. It was very commercially successful. It's in a bunch of movies. It's in Dirty Work with Norm Macdonald. But Third Eye Blind's original album, or debut album, Third Eye Blind, I just love. It's got Semi-Charmed Kind of Life on there, which Semi-Charmed Life is everywhere in the 90s. It's in like fucking I think it's in American Pie. I know it's in Dirty Work. It's just everywhere on TV and movies. But it's got Jumper, which another great song. How's It Gonna Be? Really, as you get older, you understand it more and more, and it kind of takes you back to that time. My favorite song on the whole album is Motorcycle Drive-By. That song reminds me of in my youth, going down to the beach, lighting up a joint, listening to that on my CD player, back in the day when you used to have a CD, headphones, and it just brings me back to my youth. And I liked it when it first came out. I love it now. It's a great album for, background music. Like we were talking earlier, Thin Lizzy, how it's perfect bar music, perfect shooting darts and, shooting pool and playing darts. But this brings me back to my youth. I don't know if you guys have heard it. I mean, I obviously know that you've heard Semi-Charmed Life and How's It Gonna Be and Jumper, but if anyone listens to any song on this album, I would suggest Motorcycle Drive-By. It's my favorite Third Eye Blind song, and it really will bring you back to the time of the 90s. Any opinions on that, guys?
Stephen Jenkins is the lead singer of Third Eye Blind, and I believe he's the main songwriter as well. He has an uncanny ability to take very serious subjects that are very, very prevalent on this album, especially with Semi-Charmed Life and Jumper. Semi-Charmed Life is about crystal meth, and Jumper is about a guy that wants to jump off a building. So he has this uncanny ability to have these very serious topics and turn them into incredibly catchy songs. Everybody knows Semi-Charmed Life. Everybody sings along to Semi-Charmed Life. But the lyrics are very dark, as it is with Jumper and many other of Third Eye Blind songs. So just for that, I respect him as an artist, and I respect the band because the songs I like catchy songs, and they do it well.
Wasted?
Yeah, I don't think I've heard this album, or I don't know the band. Sorry.
That's more than fine. It might be an American thing, but I can tell you what, being a teenager in the late 90s and early 2000s, this was an album that was just everywhere. You're wearing your Jinko jeans, you're wearing your stupid fucking hoodie, everyone's skating, this was just an album that with like Offspring that were just everywhere. It'd be, on the radio, you go, now it's at the grocery store, which is hilarious to me, especially after Liarz described actually what the songs mean. But it was a really popular album, but it's an album that, like I said, as I've grown older, I've really grown to appreciate. So That's Third Eye Blind, self-entitled debut album, Third Eye Blind. My last one is going to be another one that brings me back to another time in my life. And this and Contraband, because you guys know how much I love Velvet Revolver's Contraband. This and Contraband are my two favorite albums from the 2000s. You know? Audio Slave almost made it there with their self-entitled album, Audio Slave. But I'm going to go with The Killers' Hot Fuss. And I still listen to The Killers, but Hot Fuss was just amazing. It was just, it summed up a time in life. And as you go back to it now, it takes you back. And the songs have aged really well. Jenny Was a Friend of Mine is a great, great song. It's probably, how do I say this? It's not a very popular song with the Killers. Like, you know, everyone goes to Mr. Brightside and All the Things I've Done, which is also on this album, and Somebody Told Me, which is also on this album. But Jenny Was a Friend of Mine is kind of a dark song. And boy, gee golly almighty, I'm realizing I really just like the dark songs, don't I? You know, on the Tom Petty album, I brought up You're So Bad That I Bring Up Jar of Flies. Then I'm like, you know what else? Third Eye Blind, their original album, you know, where everyone's talking about, you know, jumping off a roof or crystal meth. Hell, even the one I suggested, Motorcycle Drive-By, is a, you know, it's a depressing song. I like the ending of it, but, you know, you go through some shit. But Jenny Was a Friend of Mine is a great tune. I suggest anyone listen to it. You all know Mr. Brightside. You guys all know Somebody Told Me, because that was just on the radio nonstop. And All the Things I've Done is their most poppy song and the most catchy song. But Killer's Hot Fuss, just great album. As I've gotten older, I've really, really appreciated it. When it first came out, I liked it. I didn't love it. I was more of a hard rock guy back then. It was like, all right, Velvet Revolver, Contraband, Audio Slave, Disturbed, Godsmack. And as I've gotten older, I'm like, man, I like pretty much all the songs in this album. And I can listen to it just on a straight playthrough, which I can't really do that with a lot of albums, you know? My attention span's not there anymore. But I can listen to Hot Fuss on a complete playthrough, and I really enjoy it. Liarz, Wasted, any thoughts on this album?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know much about the Killers. The only album I have from them is Sawdust, so that's all I've really heard. I know of this album, obviously, because it's probably their most popular one, and you know I know the songs that you talked about. So just put it on the list, man. I'm gonna 3 albums now from this conversation that I'm gonna have spinning. So I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, I've heard of a lot of the songs on Hot Fuss, but I don't think I've ever listened to the album. The album that I listened to was the Sam's Town album. So that's the album that I really got into the Killers on. I think I have listened to Hot Fuss, but I haven't listened to it enough to know all the songs. I know like Mr. Brightside and Somebody Told Me. Sam's Town.
Sam's Town's got some really great, songs on there. When You Were Young is a great song. Read My Mind is a really good song. But Hot Fuss, I think, was just their peak. I think every album that I've mentioned from the artist, be it Tom Petty, be it Alice in Chains, be it The Killers, be it Third Eye Blind, that I'm listing my favorite albums from them. But I think that was also their peak creativity-wise and peak performance-wise. Liarz mentioned Sawdust, and that's another good album. They have a really good cover of Dire Straits' Romeo and Juliet on that. I love Dire Straits. I've loved them like ever since I heard them when I was a kid. So it's not something I can say that's grown on me over time, but the Killers cover of Romeo and Juliet, it's outstanding. Sam's Town's a really good album, but Hot Fuss by the Killers for me is that's their peak. That's something that brings me back to a certain time, and I just love it. And it's a great album. Now, audience, please, in the comment section, tell us if these albums suck. Tell them if you like them. List the ones you've grown to love over time more and more. We loved your feedback. We love to hear from you. Remember, timestamps are below. So if you like the topic, great. If you don't like the topic, skip to the topic you like. So, Wasted. One of the questions the audience always has is why they keep hearing that noise. We've mentioned many, many times that you're at 7-Eleven recording. One, because you love 7-Eleven, you're addicted to it, and they have air conditioning there, and your apartment doesn't. But another reason why you don't record out of your apartment is because of the feud with your neighbor. Can you tell us a little about this feud with your neighbor?
Yeah, in the early shows of the Backcast, I used to do it in the flat, but I used to do it early in the morning, and probably got quite like rowdy or loud. And my neighbor upstairs made a complaint to the building, saying that she has like a granddaughter who comes around every weekend or something, and she doesn't like the language that I'm using. So she made this complaint to the building, and ever since then, like whenever I put my, I've been in a sort of feud with her because every time I put my sheets out to dry on the balcony, she pours like a bucket of water on top of the sheets when they're dry. And I can tell because it's like a round shape in the middle of the sheet where the water's hit. And she also, so I've been trying to get her back by, she's got like these plants that run along the balcony. So I go downstairs, and you're not allowed to have like potted plants sitting on the top bar of the balcony because they can get knocked off and they will land on people downstairs. So I zoom in and I take pictures of her plants that are like illegal, and then I send them to the building, and then they get posted up in the elevator. About you're not allowed to put potted plants on the thing, and then she keeps pouring like water on my washing whenever I put it outside because there's only a few days when it's actually sunny here, like it's a breezy day and you can dry your sheets, but whenever I try to do it they get dry, and then when I come back she's like and she also pours water on those plants and all that water drips down, so she's just like spraying all my washing with the water so they never get dry. And so, yeah, with the humidity. And then there's also outside the window, they're building all these new, like, across the road, there's all these, they've built like 3 or 4 new AI companies in about a year. So there's always like explosions and drilling and noises going on.
Well, I'm just enjoying the fact that you're feuding with your neighbor. Like, I like the fact that, she's dumping water on your laundry. You're reporting her to the building because she reported you. Which, number one, back when we used to do our old show, you speak in English. Taiwan, in Taiwan, don't they speak Chinese?
Yeah, but I'm not sure she's like from Taiwan, but they also speak some English. Like she might be from like America or something like that.
Well, how can they hear you? Like you're in your apartment. Like, are there walls that thin?
Yeah, I think they can hear. You can hear people when they're being pretty loud. I can hear them, and also if the window's open. But it's mainly you can hear them walking around upstairs, and you can hear them talking a little bit. I don't know how, but it kind of goes back to when the apartment was being like. It was a new flat, so I also had the back kitchen like extended into the back balcony to give a bit more space, but she also complained about that. So that's when it first started. She obviously doesn't want to have like a neighbor or something because it's always making these complaints.
So what's your strategy to deal with her in the future now? Are you guys just going to go back and forth with these little complaints, or have you found a better way of handling it?
Yeah, I don't do any of it. I only did the taking photos once. I thought it might stop, but she doesn't stop. She's still pouring buckets of water. I just never put my sheets out. I keep them inside now.
So you let her defeat you, wasted. I wouldn't expect that.
I don't want to get like in it. Yeah, I don't know what. I mean, she got like the government to send me letters, So I just thought it's not really worth it.
You got the government to send you letters?
But they were sending me letters, about noise disturbance and also the extension on the back kitchen, which was somehow illegal. Like it went too far outside, kind of interfere. It was like built around. There's a pipe that was going up from our building to theirs, and it was sort of built around their pipe, and that's not allowed or something. So I was getting these like letters from the from the government. So I thought, man, I don't really care. So I changed got the builders to come back and put the build back the wall in its original position, and then don't make any noise. Try not to shout too much in the morning. I guess it was early morning. It's like 9 a.m. and I'm like screaming or shouting or talking loudly in my flat about certain things.
I think you should try next week and do a show from your apartment just to see how it goes.
I could do, but
you know,
I'd get more letters.
Would you though?
I don't know, but it gets annoying when they're pouring water on your clothes and stuff.
Well, have you thought about a way to retaliate yet? Like a way to get it back? Like put something outside that really, really smells. It's going to just ferment up to her.
Yeah, I can. I'm probably gonna. The thing is, I'm gonna lose in the end, aren't I? Because I'm not a local, or I'm not from Taiwan. It's always gonna be the foreigner. He's the bad guy.
Well, you just said that you're not sure that she's from there.
Yeah, yes, probably is, but they can often speak English enough.
How old is this lady, Wasted?
That's the thing. I think she's old. She's older, more like a grandmother. I mean, she could just be pouring buckets of water onto my clothes by accident, but
Have you considered going up and talking to her?
No, because we had this sort of feud going where we were like, I got all those potted plant pictures put up in the elevator.
And she knows it's you?
I'm going to talk to her. I think one time her husband came down, but he couldn't speak English, so he was just like shouting at me, and I just agreed with him and then shut the door. So I don't know.
This doesn't sound very dominant, Wasted.
You've got to pick your moments. You don't want to get thrown out of the building or something. I just don't. Well,
don't you own that apartment?
Yeah, they could. Yeah, it just made it so difficult with the extension. When you've got somebody who's like looking for any mistake you make, and then reporting you, then it just becomes a nightmare. You're like, even with like the bins, when you take your cans down, you got to put it in the right section. I don't know. Maybe the whole management team is against me.
I just can't believe you let the husband come down there and start yelling like at you. I'd be like, "What'd you say?" You got to stand up for yourself.
I was wondering what he was talking about, because I didn't really know it was him, but I assumed that it must have been him from upstairs, because who else is going to do that?
This isn't this is going to be a throwback to an earlier episode, but this isn't the why girl, is it?
Yeah, I think it was around that time. I think they might have overheard some of that stuff, and ever since then they've been out to get me.
No, the why girl, the why lady has left, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Wasted, you're in a predicament here.
Can't make too much noise and can't.
But you're just talking. You should be able to talk in your own apartment.
Yeah, it's what I'm talking. I think I'm talking louder than I normally talk, though, and also I guess it depends on what you're saying. I don't know.
Well, why are they eavesdropping? Why are they like listening to you? That I mean, are the walls literally that thin? Like anything you say, like what happens if you're watching an action movie?
Yeah, it might be something to do with the room that I was in, or I don't know. That's the thing, is I don't know whether.
I think you need to resolve this because when you record at 7-Eleven, it's nonstop doorbells. I mean, we keep hearing the doo 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 doo. I mean, if you want to interview some of these people, it's interesting, but I mean, it gets difficult after a while.
Yeah. Well, I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can get like one of the rooms is probably safer, but there's also like the building site, and that you can't stop that noise. That's crazy. It starts at 8, and they're like drilling and explosions.
You live in a very when I think of Taiwan. It's a new building?
A new area. Yeah, it's a new building and a new area. So they're like building the city. Like 50,000 new people have come here in the last year or something. So they're building all these new blocks, and they're building all these AI companies. So there's a lot of building going on and drilling, because like some of the apartments upstairs, I think, are not actually being finished off now. So there's a lot of drilling coming from those at certain times as well. So that's another annoyance. It tends to end. It starts in the morning, but it doesn't go on at night.
How loud is it in your apartment?
Well, when they're drilling upstairs, it's pretty loud. It's like it's almost like drives you out of the flat. It's really loud. When they're drilling in like above, like they're doing the flats. I don't know. It's like not drilling. It's like somebody like putting together like some kind of kitchen unit or drilling like holes in walls and stuff. And that kind of somehow, I don't know where, it could be coming from anywhere in the building, I think. Like, I've had this problem, like, a lot.
Now, if we're gonna compare now, so would it be more noisy or less noisy than 7-Eleven?
I think it would be more noisy at certain points. But I think at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's like, at 9, there's nobody here. But at 10, people start coming in. They get up and then they come in to get breakfast, and families start coming in. So around 10 o'clock, it gets a bit noisy. But normally about 9, there's nobody here, mostly, I've noticed. So when we start the show at 9, nothing really happens until about 10 or later in the show.
Right.
But I can find somewhere quieter. I think they might have opened down the downstairs kind of office suite area now. They sort of shut it down at some point. I don't know what's going on with that. But that's a communal area, but it's totally empty. It's like a business suite with like coffee machines and sofas and things. That's definitely.
Do you have access to Wi-Fi down there?
Yeah, data on my phone.
I think we should try, because it's actually one of the, and I wouldn't say it's a complaint because I don't think it is, but one of the most common questions that I get asked either in person from people that listen to the show or online is, what's that beeping in the background, right? So, I personally, I think it adds to the mystique of your overall character of Wasted, and I think that's part of your delivery is having the 7-Eleven in the background. But if other people don't think that way, or if they think differently, we should, I don't know, look at different avenues, I would say.
Yeah. I think normally I mute it. Sometimes I mute it, and when everybody else is talking, then only unmute it at a certain point when I'm talking. So then you only get the beeping in my zone, in my area, my talk.
What else is going on in Taiwan right now, Wasted?
There was a typhoon.
I wanted to ask you. Sorry, we'll get to that typhoon for sure. So, your neighbor that you're feuding with, does she know about your setup outside in the hallway?
No, she must be there on another floor.
Okay, so she doesn't know anything about that.
So, yeah, and sometimes I think they're like floor 3. Sometimes I get in the elevator with somebody who gets off on floor 3, and I wonder if that was her.
So you don't even know what she looks like?
I think I've seen her once, but it might not have been her. It's hard to tell. But there can't be that many people that would fit the bill.
Interesting. I think you should go up and introduce yourself and maybe have your phone on recording when you do it. We can make a segment, but that's up to you. Now, you were saying something about a typhoon.
Yeah, I think in South Taiwan, there's been another typhoon, but I think we only caught the edge of it here. So it was just really windy for one day, and then everything shut down though. Like a lot of shops shut down, schools shut down, businesses. But it didn't seem to me, it didn't seem to like turn up in a real way, rain-wise. The rain was pretty heavy though for a few days, and you didn't know what to do. Like if you left the house, you might get stranded somewhere because then the rain starts and you can't get back. Because it's like hurricane winds blow. It was really the winds that are scary because the trees are like bending like over, almost flat. And breaking. There's branches getting broken off. It's almost like you're going to get knocked over when you walk. Like your legs get blown as you step. It's kind of crazy. So it's better to stay inside.
You live in a rural, an urban area, right?
Sorry?
You live in an urban area of Taiwan, right?
An avid area?
Urban. Urban.
Urban. Yeah. They're building it. Yeah. It's kind of like Silicon. It's kind of like a Silicon Valley type area. So it's very modern and new. So it's getting built. So it's all urban. Yeah, it's just basically traffic. It's just all traffic.
Are you inland? Did the typhoon hit you? You said it didn't affect you too much, or?
Well, it's in the south. It was in the south this time. Last time I think it was in the northeast, and I'm on the west. We're on the west. South. Sorry, we're northwest. Last one was northeast, and I think this one is down in Kaohsiung, which is south. So that didn't really. I don't think. I mean, that 1 or 2 days. It was like 3 days of really windy weather, with the rain blowing.
And you're sure that it's the rain that's getting your sheets wet. You're sure that it's your neighbor upstairs getting the sheets wet, and not like the humidity and the typhoon.
No, I wouldn't. I don't put the stuff out when it's. You can just tell because the you put the sheet over like the horse, and it's only wet in the middle, like in a circular shape, as if somebody's just poured a bucket of water on it from the top. It's not wet all the way through. But you don't get many chances to put your clothes out here because it's either too windy, raining, and it really changes. You can put your sheets out in the morning and then it just starts raining again when you're out. It's like so changeable. You can't really trust it that much. So it's not that big a deal.
It sounds horrible, Wasted.
It's just all over the place. Yeah.
This whole situation just sounds like a bad situation. You got to address it because if you're going to be bullied by a Taiwanese grandmother here, I mean, it's not like you're doing anything crazy. You're just talking music and pop culture, and she's going to keep complaining. Well, maybe you respond with like cranking up Megadeth or something, you start. I don't know what advice to give you yet, but we're going to work on this. Audience, if you have an idea how to solve Wasted's neighbor problem in a polite manner, we're not talking anything, nothing criminal by any means or nothing too aggressive. This is an old lady we're talking about here, but in a polite way. Please let us know in the comments section. Hey, Liars.
Hey.
Question for you.
Kevin.
You're Canadian, correct?
I am Canadian.
Well, the Canadian pastime is hockey, right?
Hockey, yes, NHL.
Yeah, isn't that starting up soon?
Today, it's starting this week. So, I figured since we did the. What's that?
We should probably do a preview for it, don't you think?
Yeah, well, I figured since we did the NFL preview, let's get on the NHL preview. Let's start it off in the Eastern Conference. We have the Atlantic Division with the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Montreal Canadiens, the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers are the reigning Stanley Cup champions, by the way. Tampa Bay Lightning, Boston Bruins, Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa Senators, and the Buffalo Sabres. Thoughts on the Atlantic Division, Brasky?
I think it's going to come down to the Panthers and Bruins. I don't think the Canadiens are there yet.
They're not.
They're still trying to recover. They haven't been good in many years. The Maple Leafs will make it to the playoffs, but they'll choke like they do every year because that's just who they are. That's just the way the world wants it. And, the year that the Toronto Maple Leafs win the Stanley Cup is the year that I know Armageddon is officially here. So that's like breaking one of the seven seals. But I'm going to go Panthers and Bruins, and I'm probably going to tell you because I love my Bruins. I truly do. But I like our additions on the D-line. I think they're improved. But I still think offensively they're going to struggle. They got the contract situation with Swayman right now where he still hasn't re-signed. I'm going to go Panthers are definitely going to win the Atlantic Division.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
My team, the Montreal Canadiens, they're probably going to finish last in the division this year. They are still 1 or 2 years away from competing. They were on their way this year with the addition of Patrick Laine, which was a great addition. I was really excited when they got him. But he's hurt now for the foreseeable future. His timeline is measured in months as opposed to weeks. So they're without him till probably the new year. So them, along with the Senators and the Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings, they're going to be the bottom 4 teams. Unfortunately, I think the Leafs are going to win the division this year.
I think the Senators are going to be approved of Allmark. I mean, he's a damn good goalie.
Yes,
they traded us pretty much a bag of pucks for him, and I think that's going to stabilize their goalie situation, which has been horrible. And some reason we took the horrible goalie back in a trade with them. But I think with Allmark, they're going to be another, you can give them 5 more wins than they had before.
Yeah, I can see that. It's, I hate to say the Leafs are going to win the division, but I think they are. And then you think the Panthers are going to regress just because they've played so much hockey in the last 2-3 years that it's going to catch up to them, just like it did with the Lightning when they repeated with their Stanley Cups. So nothing against the Panthers. I think they're probably the best team in the division. I just don't think they're going to finish first. Bruins are probably going to come in second. That defense on the Bruins is unparalleled in the division, maybe in the NHL. The back end of the Bruins is so strong.
We picked up Lindholm to play center. He's going to be, and that's good. And I think he's with his brother Hampus. So you got Elias Lindholm and Hampus Lindstrom. One's a center, one's a defenseman, and I think that's going to definitely assist. I think Pasternak's going to have another great year. But a lot of the Bruins, who? Did you say Bergeron?
I always get them mixed up. No, Marchand, yeah. Brad Marchand.
Oh, Brad Marchand. Yeah, Brad Marchand, but Brad Marchand's getting old, dude. Marchand's been around since, back in the day. He's got to be entering like 15th year of hockey, somewhere around there. So, McAvoy's going to hold it down in the back end with Zadarov,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm still not sold on Zacha, the center. I think since Bergeron retired, we're definitely struggling, And Swayman's never played more than 40 games in goal because he always, was sharing time with Allmark. So
yeah,
I love the Bruins. I truly do. I just think that they're not ready to compete with the Panthers. And, the Toronto Maple Leafs, I don't care. I think the Panthers probably, like you said, will start out slow because they're going to be tired. But then again, real hockey, I've always said, doesn't begin until about January. November, December, as long as your good players don't get injured and you stay in the mix is all you need to do.
Yeah, I agree. So moving on to the Metropolitan Division, we have the New Jersey Devils, the Washington Capitals, the New York Islanders, the Pittsburgh Penguins, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Columbus Blue Jackets, the Philadelphia Flyers, and the New York Rangers. I'll start on this one since you went first last time, Brasky. It's a toss-up between the Rangers and the Devils in this division. Igor Shesterkin is going to be stopping the pucks for the Rangers. Solid, one of the best, if not the best in the NHL. And the Jerseys picked up Jacob Markstrom from Calgary in the offseason here, and that's shored up their goaltending situation, which is always since almost Brodeur left. It's kind of been their Achilles heel, and being from Calgary and watching the Flames, Markstrom's good. He's really good. but he can also be really bad. And they brought in Jake Allen as a backup, and I think that tandem, Jake Allen is going to be able to step in when Markstrom has his struggles, which he will, and Markstrom will be able to handle the majority of starts. So I think their goaltending is very strong. They're going to finish 1-2. Wild card for me, maybe the Philadelphia Flyers or the Pittsburgh Penguins. I'd like to see Columbus do something, but they won't, just because of the Johnny Gaudreau thing. But they won't. So as it stands, we'll go the Devils and the Rangers wild card. Why the hell not? I'm going to go Pittsburgh just because I love Sidney Crosby.
I'm going to disagree with you here. I'm going with the Carolina Hurricanes and Pittsburgh winning. You got Crosby, who's still going to deliver. I mean, the Penguins, obviously they're depleted from where they used to be, and they're older. Carolina is just a pain in the ass team. Every year they're in the playoffs, they always somehow make it to like the second round, and sometimes they even make it to the Eastern Conference Final. They're just a grind out team. They're not a team I think is going to win the cup, but they're a team that I think that each year you can count on them being in the playoffs. So I'm going to take Carolina. I'm going to take Pittsburgh, and you know what? I'll take the Rangers being the third team.
Bold. I like your picks. I like it. Heading over to the Western Conference, we'll start in the Central Division. We've got the brand new, first year in the league, Utah Hockey Club. They moved from Arizona. Yeah. They got some, their jerseys are pretty sick, though. For just being the Utah Hockey Club, but that's what they're being called this year. Apparently they're going to have a proper name going forward after this season. But this season they'll be known as the Utah Hockey Clubs. Their jersey and their color schemes are pretty sick. I like it. I got to admit I do like it. So we've got Utah.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
I know we're talking NHL right now, but it's also like the NFL. We're like, remember when the Redskins changed the name to the Washington Football Team? That's just stupid. And then now it's the Commanders. I mean, it's stupid. The fact that Utah has a hockey team, are you kidding me? The Quebec Nordiques don't exist anymore, all right? That's bullshit. The Hartford Whalers don't exist anymore. That's bullshit. But, hey, let's give a hockey team to Utah. Really?
Money talks, man.
I mean,
just...
I know. But continue.
The rumor name... And I really hope this comes to fruition because I think it's awesome. The rumored name for the Utah Hockey Club is going to be the Utah Yetis. If that happens...
I kind of like it.
Yeah, so do I. I really like it. So in the division, the Central Division, we've got Utah, Colorado Avalanche, the Winnipeg Jets, the St. Louis Blues, the Dallas Stars, Nashville Predators, the Chicago Blackhawks, and the Minnesota Wild. Take this one, Brasky.
All right. Back in the day, it'd be easy Blackhawks. I still think they're going to sneak in, but they'll be the wild card team. I'm going to go with Dallas. And let's see. Who else do I really want to go with here? I'm going to go with Dallas and Colorado. Chicago being the third team, but Dallas and Colorado. St. Louis is just depleted. Nashville's depleted. Winnipeg's a joke. That's the direction I'm heading.
I agree with you that Colorado and Dallas and Colorado. I think those are the two. They're going to finish 1 and 2. Dallas is really strong. Dallas got a good team, man, and they're solid from the goals. They're solid from the goalie to the defense to the forwards. They've got depth in all those positions, and they've been kind of scratching they're in the playoffs every year and. I mean, Jake Ottinger shit the bed last year in the playoffs. I don't know what happened to him, but I expect much improvement from him this year, and we'll see how far they go. But they're gonna do some damage this year. And Colorado always. I mean, Cale Makar, Nathan McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and then Georgiev in net. They're solid throughout. Chicago, I still don't think are there, and I feel sorry for Connor Bedard because they still got nothing around him, man. It's going to be his second year now. They got a bunch of plugs.
Well, they got Bertuzzi, they got Hall. I mean, those are two former Bruins, and they're pretty decent, dude. Their defense is,
Tim.
shit.
Yeah. And their goalie is shit too. They got a good coach, Luke Richardson. He played for Ottawa for forever. He's a good coach. I think they're solid in their development, and I think they've drafted a few good pieces to go along with Bedard. But I still think they're going to be probably in the basement this year of that division. Nashville's much improved. Steven Stamkos is now a Nashville Predator, which will be interesting to see. St. Louis, they got those two guys from Edmonton on the offer sheets, Philip Broberg and was it Dylan Holloway? So we'll see how they go. Winnipeg, they're just like the Leafs. They're a regular season team that shit the bed in the playoffs. Connor Hellebuyck is a hell of a goaltender, but I don't think he's going to... I can see them missing the playoffs this year. Moving on to the Pacific.
I want to say one thing. It's weird to say this because it shouldn't be old, especially what our age is now. But Steven Stamkos, being 34, he's starting to get up there. He's starting to get long in the tooth, and he's played a lot of hockey, dude.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, back in the day, he was, number 1 or number 2 in the league when it came to scoring goals. I just don't see him being the same type of player anymore. And, I know you're saying he's going to really impact Nashville really well. I don't know. I think he's at the tail end of his career. He kind of reminds me like when Messier went to the Rangers and got old.
Yeah. I see the comparison. But, they've got some good players in Nashville, and they've got a really good defense, and they've got pretty much all world goaltenders. So I think they're going to do okay. And we're not going to see Steven Stamkos scoring 40, 50 goals like he did a few years ago, but I can see him scoring 25.
I can see that too. I'm not trying to deny that. I don't think it's going to be enough. I know they got Nyquist, which, he's a beast. But I don't know, man. I don't think the Predators are going to survive in the Pacific. I just think that's a really, really tough division, or a really tough conference.
Yeah, agreed.
All right,
so
we'll
moving
go
on
to
to
the next.
the Pacific, the final one. This is my division, my neck of the woods. So we've got the Calgary Flames, the Vegas Golden Knights, the Seattle Kraken, the Vancouver Canucks, Anaheim Ducks, Edmonton Oilers, Los Angeles Kings, and the San Jose Sharks. What do you think, Brasky?
Well, all right. First off, so you don't kill me, I'm going to say the Flames. Then I'm going to say Edmonton, so Cardew doesn't kill me. And then I'm going to go with, I hate to say this because it bothers me because it's our old head coach, but I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights.
So the Flames, I think they're going to be a lottery team this year. They're really bad. They're in a rebuild, and they're just starting to rebuild. So they might surprise some people, but I don't know. Dark horse team, the Vancouver Canucks. They had a really good season last year. They seem to have gotten rid of all the problems that were in the locker room, and they're gelling quite nicely. But when you think of the Pacific, you have to look at the Edmonton Oilers. They're the class of the NHL. They're probably going to finish first in the NHL this year. They're my pick for the Stanley Cup. They were one game away from it last year. There's no reason to think that they can't be there again. Connor McDavid is there. Leon Draisaitl is there. Evan Bouchard is there. Darnell Nurse. Stuart Skinner has gone through everything a goalie can go through, so he's only going to get better. Edmonton Oilers, and then the rest of them. It's the Oilers all the way for me. And who's your pick for the Cup?
Oh, that's a tough question here. Before I get on that, I just still want to be pissed off that the Bruins got rid of Bruce Cassidy.
Yeah, but they got a good coach now.
He sucks in the playoffs, dude. He sucks in the playoffs. Great, you win the freaking Eastern Conference every year. Whoop de fucking do. You got. Oh look, we got the most points. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't know.
it gets to the point where it's fun to have the most points, but if you don't win in the playoffs, you're nobody. You're the Buffalo Bills, which nobody wants to be.
Right. Fair enough.
Let's see. I'm going to go with Dallas. I think Dallas is going to make it. And then the Eastern Conference. This one's a little tougher, to be honest with you here. I'm going to go Dallas and the Rangers.
Solid. And who coming out on top?
I'm going to go with Dallas.
Nice.
What are
So
your
my
thoughts?
picks, like I've already said, I think the Oilers are going to win the Cup this year. So I think the Oilers are coming out of the West, and maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Maybe it's just because of stupid media in this country. That's all they talk about. But I think the Leafs are coming out of the East this year. And it pains me to say that. I throw up a little in my mouth every time I say it, because I just have such a dislike for that team and that organization and that city. But
I just can't see them not choking in the playoffs, buddy. Like I told you earlier, that's breaking one of the 7 seals of the apocalypse if that happens.
I know.
The Leafs get in there. I know end times are near.
Let's put it this way: if a certain person wins an election south of the border, the Leafs are going to come out of the East. If another guy wins, someone else is going to come out of the East. How's that? Because then the apocalypse is upon us.
Oh, well, I think that's the easiest way to explain that and to get better from that. Not better. Man, I'm not finding my words tonight. It's been a rough night for me. But I'll tell you this right now. I think you're underestimating Dallas. I think Edmonton is, stellar, but man, did they blow it last year. And I think that's going to have a mental impact on them. And there's no way with Toronto, dude. Listen, the Bruins, they'll shit the bed. They won't get to the Cup, or they'll get to the Cup and get their ass kicked, all right? There's no fucking way that the Boston Bruins are ever going to lose to the fucking Toronto Maple Leafs. It's just not going to happen. The Rangers won't lose to the Maple Leafs. If this happens, Liarz, just find a cabin, get as much supplies as you can, because the end of days are here.
Yeah, I hear you. And I agree with you. That's the thing. I agree with you. But I look at this team now, and I'm like, I just think they're going to do it this year. But I don't think they're going to win the Cup. I think they're just going to come out of the East. And
dude, that's still terrifying to me.
It's horrible. It's disgusting.
And the problem is, I trust you more in hockey because, number one, you're Canadian. So that automatically means you know more than any American on hockey. Even though I live in the Boston area, which I'll tell anyone. And, we're a hockey town here. We've always been a hockey town, since Eddie Shore, good old hockey,
nice.
Bobby Orr, all that stuff. Like the hockey towns in America, you're talking the Dakotas, you're talking Minnesota, Michigan, New Hampshire, Massachusetts. Those are the real hockey hotbeds. You can even throw in Pennsylvania and upstate New York. Everywhere else really doesn't know shit about hockey, or doesn't have any knowledge. But up in Canada, you guys, you live and breathe it. So the fact that you're like an expert, I wouldn't, when it comes to hockey, because I consider most Canadian hockey fans to be experts in hockey. You're like Bob Cherry telling me this, and it's terrifying me, buddy. It's not making me feel okay.
I know.
Now I want to go listen to Jar of Flies a little bit and just stare at a whiskey bottle.
Totally.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Well, we're going to get Wasted hasn't been involved on this because he doesn't know anything about hockey. But for shits and giggles, Wasted, come on, unmute yourself. Hi, Wasted.
Hello.
Okay, so Wasted, because you know nothing about hockey. You're like, when they have the local news team and they go find like the animal to go predict the Super Bowl. Wasted, we're going to have you predict the Stanley Cup.
Pittsburgh Penguins.
And who do they beat?
Oilers.
Liarz, watch that fucking happen.
The Pittsburgh Penguins over the Edmonton Oilers.
Crosby puts one more up. Wasted's right. He gets to brag about it forever.
So Wasted's got the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Green Bay Packers. And you know what? The Packers isn't looking like such a bad pick anymore. I mean, they're doing
Jordan
okay,
Love's not even in. And they're winning with Malik, whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah. Although,
God
didn't Jordan Love play last week? I think he did.
No, I still think it was Malik.
Okay.
Could be. Hey, listen, dude, I could be wrong. I got a ton of shit going on right now. So I think it's Malik Willis. But I want to make sure because I don't want to. Yeah, it's Malik Willis. So I mean, the Packers could do it. I mean, right now, people in Minnesota are drinking that hopium. We're like, oh, look at the Vikings. They got Sam Darnold and they're 4-0. Really?
They're playing what? Justin Jefferson, man. I mean, you can't deny that guy's talent, man. He's probably the best in the NFL, man, and he's clicking with Sam Darnold right now.
He's definitely the best receiver in football. There's no question about it. But the greatest head coach of all time, Bill Belichick, once said, "Real football doesn't start till November, kids." So what you're seeing now is great. I remember many years watching football, and you'd see like the San Diego Chargers start out like 7-0, and the New York Jets go like 5-2. You're like, oh wow, they're going to be real teams. And then no, they're not. So just hold your expectations down until we get a little bit more in the season. We're only a quarter of it in, okay? Right now, any team, the exception of the Jaguars, because they look like a complete hot mess, and the Giants, and I hate to say this, the Patriots. Any team that's not named right there still has a chance.
That Bill Belichick knows a thing or two about football, doesn't he?
8 Super Bowl rings, you can't kind of back up his point. But speaking of points, our next topic tonight is we're going to talk B horror movies. Now, Liarz, this was the topic you suggested, so we're going to let you take lead on this.
Sure. B movies, B horror movies. I'm in my late 40s, so I'm a kid of the 80s, and the 1980s was full of B horror movies. Almost every horror movie that came out in the 1980s could be considered a B horror movie. So I did a quick search to refresh my memory a little bit, and one that came up quite often, and I remember watching this as just a young boy in the 1980s and thinking it was kind of silly at the time, and I actually watched it this week in anticipation of this show this week, and it's from 1985, and it's called The Stuff. Now, The Stuff, yeah. So, long story short, synopsis: these quarry workers, they discover this substance bubbling out of the ground. And of course, the guy's like, it's the first scene of the movie, and the guy sees this stuff bubbling out of the ground. So obviously, he picks up a handful and tastes it, right? Because why wouldn't you, right? And it's delicious, but it's also like evil, right? It's alive, right? And it takes over your body, and so they start marketing this stuff as The Stuff, and it eventually takes over the supermarkets, and nobody's eating anything else but the stuff, except for this one kid, and Michael Moriarty's in it, and he's like this big corporate tough guy who takes on the world and the stuff, and it comes to a big climax, and then it's over, and I remember it being bad when I watched it, and I watched it this week again, and it was still bad. B movie? Absolutely. What, recommended? No. I mean, even it's got Garrett Morris in it. Garrett Morris. Everybody knows Garrett Morris. Everybody loves. Yeah, man. Everybody loves Garrett Morris. It's got Paul Sorvino in it. Like I said, it's got Michael Moriarty in it. It's got some names that you will recognize and some faces that you'll recognize. But overall, as B movies go, it wasn't good. It wasn't really that good. So I don't know why it kept coming up on all the lists I was seeing, but it was there. So let's go to the other end of the spectrum, and I know this is one of your favorites, Brasky. Probably one of the most famous B movies of all time, spawned sequels. Tremors.
I love Tremors.
I love Tremors. Kevin Bacon, such a good movie. Michael Gross, he plays the weapons guy, the weapons crazy guy. So,
The Dale Gribble. You know, if you ever watch King of the Hill and you want to see Dale Gribble in a real movie, go watch Tremors.
absolutely.
It's great. I mean, that's the guy you want as your neighbor. Trust me, if shit goes down, that's the guy you want as your fucking neighbor.
That's the guy.
That's the guy.
And I think we all know someone like that. I know I do. I mean,
Of course.
I know I
Listen,
do.
if you don't know somebody like that, you need to go make friends with somebody like that. Just friendly piece of advice. And it also stars the great Fred Ward. Which Fred Ward is like the king of B movies. He was in Remo Williams Begins. Fred Ward is just an underappreciated actor, and I love the man. And you know, Tremors is spectacular. The original Tremors is just a great B movie. That's a good choice.
Yeah.
But you didn't pick my favorite. Oh, no, my friend. My favorite B movie series, like I have two, and they're both spectacular. Number one, Evil Dead. Evil Dead 1, 2, and then 3, which is Army of Darkness, if you have not seen Army of Darkness, which is the third Evil Dead movie with Bruce Campbell, do yourself a favor. Just go watch it. It's hilarity. It's horror. It's everything that's right in the world. Bruce Campbell is one of the most likable actors you'll ever find. I just love the Evil Dead series. The first two are kind of shot really shitty. It's Sam Raimi who's doing it. That's why you see Bruce Campbell in all the Spider-Man movies. So it's Sam Raimi's first film, and Evil Dead. And you know, the first one, you know, it hasn't aged incredibly well. But, you know, back in the day, you throw that in a VHS tape, it's a scary kind of movie, but it has humor to it. And then there's more humor in Evil Dead 2. And by the time you get to Army of Darkness, they have the formula just firing on all cylinders. It's just a great movie. I just love it. And then the other series, which this one's so popular, everyone's going to know, but it's definitely B movies, is the Friday the 13th. Now, I don't like the original, believe it or not, because there's no Jason. But once you get Jason involved, I'm all about it. I mean, the man's just defending his property. These assholes come on his property, they litter, they trespass, they have sex, they do drugs. Local law enforcement isn't helping Jason, so he has to take matters into his own hands. You know, there's signs that say don't trespass. They don't listen to him. So, you know, he goes about and does this thing. You know, he never really leaves except when he gets stuck on a boat and has to go to Manhattan, or he goes to space, but he doesn't want to leave his property. You never hear the rest of the neighbors complaining about it. You got people that live by Jason Voorhees for what, 30, 40 years? He's never bothered them. It's always the people that are trespassing on his property, that are drinking, that are doing drugs, fucking shit up. You know, you never hear Jason going, you know what, I'm going to go start killing the neighbors for no reason.
It's true.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Just wanted to throw that out. He just wants to be left alone. Point. I mean, listen, the first Friday the 13th, it shows his crazy mother, which, hey, he had a bad upbringing and he got drowned, you know. He drowned in Crystal Lake. Okay, that's horrible. And then they killed his mother. That's a lot of post-traumatic stress that man's going through right now. And he just wants to be left alone. And these fucking people just don't leave him alone. You know, there's other great horror movies like the movie House, which is just a dumb fucking horror movie, but it's enjoyable.
The Gate.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
How come we didn't say that one? That one is, I heard it's getting a remake, by the way. I don't know. There's a whole bunch of fucking fake shit going on Facebook. They make fake movie posters for remakes.
Oh, yeah. I remember when you sent me, like, dude, look, they're making Back to the Future with Tom Holland. I'm like, no, dude, they're fucking with you.
Yeah, man. And I'm falling for it all the time. And I saw Killer Clowns from Outer Space, that remake is in the works. So if it is, I'll be interested to see that, because that movie kind of scared me when I was a kid, man. Those clowns, because they're not animatronics, they're not CGI. They're just people in costumes, and it's very campy costumes, and they're just scary.
What about the Toxic Avenger? Do you remember that?
Oh, Toxic Avenger is a good one. Where's Wasted? Wasted. Have you seen any of these movies?
Yeah, I've seen Evil Dead and things like that. The one that I saw on VHS,
once again, Wasted's left. we're having a lot of technical difficulties tonight, folks. We truly do apologize. We're trying to put out a good show for you, and Wasted signal keeps jumping and going. So we're gonna give Wasted a second here to kind of get his gear back working. Wasted, we've got a lot of feedback
Toxic
right
Avenger. The Toxic Avenger. 1985.
now. Yeah, I mean, Toxic Avenger is a great one. Another great one, and it makes me laugh every time. You ever seen Swamp Thing?
I have seen Swamp Thing.
Opens up to Born on the Bayou.
What's the girl in Swamp Thing? She's like a scream queen. I'm gonna look it up right now. What's her name? She's like the scream queen of horror movies back in the. Oh man, I can't remember what her name is, but she's got the dark hair. She's got the huge rack. Oh well, whatever.
You got a computer right in front of you. You can get this literally in 10 seconds. It's a quick Google search.
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now.
All right, so when you look it up here, I'm going to buy you some time. But yeah, Swamp Thing's hilarious. It opens up to Born on the Bayou by CCR, and just, it's your typical 80s shitfest of a movie. Now, in the 90s, you had more B movies like Blair Witch Project, which I didn't like. I find that movie stupid. I know I said on the podcast back in the day that, hey, listen, follow the water.
Like
well, it's not. Well, listen, it's dumb because here's the deal. Oh, well, it's killing you this and that. Okay, well, follow the water. Oh, well, they're not going to let you get out. All right, do you got a fucking lighter on you? Burn the bitch's house. All right, she's going to kill you. Start a fire. Guess what? The fire department is going to come and get you. There'll be smoke and rescue teams. There'll be firefighters. All this shit's going to happen. And at the same time, you burn the bitch's house down. There's easy, logical ways to fuck with these people back. And,
Adrienne Barbeau.
Adrienne Barbeau. Wow, she's the queen of that. I mean, Escape from New York. I always remember her from.
Oh man. Yes. So, Swamp Thing is a definite must see.
Now that we brought up Escape from New York, we're talking John Carpenter, dude. He made some great B movies. I mean, Ghost of Mars, which came out in the 2000s, even though it had a budget, I'd still consider it a B movie. John Carpenter's Vampires with James Woods. Love that movie. It's another one. Dracula 2000 with Gerard Butler as Dracula. Oh, man. You got Justine Waddle, I believe's her name. Hey, now. And then you got a very, very young, what's her name? Jennifer Esposito. Yeah. It's good times. Good fucking times. And they kept spawning more and more movies.
Would you consider The Thing to be a B movie?
That's a really, really hard question because I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's one of the greatest films ever made. I think, I know we've talked about it in the past, but I can tell you this right now. I think it's too insulting to put that in a B movie because any idiot that would say that that's a B movie is just, and I know that's not what you're trying to say, but I get that, it failed at the box office, didn't make much money, but it's loaded with stars. You got Wilford Brimley, you got Keith David, you got Kurt Russell. I mean, I love The Thing. If you want to call that a horror movie, it's my favorite horror movie. It's the one that fucks with your mind the most. It's the most suspenseful, mind-fucking movie you're ever going to find. It's beautifully shot. The CGI, or not the lack of CGI and really practical effects in the movie, are just too damn good to be considered that. I mean, when it comes down to it, you have to consider John Carpenter to be the master of horror. People go, it's Wes Craven. It's like, dude, Halloween, the original one, even the second one, and The Thing. Really? Even The Mist. I know you could say The Mist is a B movie.
The Mist is a B movie for sure, but also very good. Definitely.
Yeah, it's fucking excellent. And but we've talked about this because we did a whole John Carpenter thing. And now, Wasted, I hope you're situated in back, buddy, because we want to hear some of your B movies.
Yeah.
Carry on, Wasted. What do you got?
I remember seeing on 1985 on VHS in the late 80s. I saw Return of the Living Dead. That was I think that's a B movie, a horror B movie that I saw. I think that in that movie, some kind of gas. It's like set at a warehouse next to a cemetery, and the gas escapes from the warehouse, I think, and kind of gets into the ground of the cemetery, and then all the graveyard bodies in the graveyard start rising from the dead, and then there's some kind of punk kids with names like Trash and Suicide. They're going to the cemetery to party, and they end up running into all these zombies. And I think it was one of the first movies that had they were eating the brains. The zombies wanted to eat the brains, and it had like some kind of punk element to it. Like the trailer was all about this sort of like zombie party, so it had like a rock and roll theme. Another one I saw around the same time was Reanimator. I think it was like 1985 too. It's like based on a H.P. Lovecraft book, and it's like a student, a scientist, kind of invents a serum for reanimating the dead, and I think he reanimates his professor or something. And then, but I think the thing in the movie is that it's the side effects of the when they come back to life, they have all these like grotesque kind of like side effects, and there's a lot of like blood splatter and gore. They're all kind of deformed, and then he just keeps on going and he kind of brings back to life like more and more people, and they end up like attacking him. That's what I can remember from that movie, is that they all like turn on him, and then he's just like fighting all these different like I think both of those movies, they have like nowadays they have like comical kind of special effects. There's sort of like limbs and arms that don't really look very like realistic at all. Another one I saw like more like recently was on YouTube. I think I saw it in the 90s sometimes, called Vampiros Lesbos. It's about like a sort of a lesbian vampire who's like haunting the dreams of this woman who's working at a legal firm, and then she goes on to this holiday island or something, and then she runs into and is seduced by this sort of vampire lesbian woman in the movie. I was watching that on YouTube a few months ago, but I remember seeing it like in the 90s sometime. Vampiros Lesbos. It's very old though. It's like German Spanish, and it probably came out in like 1971 it came out. So it doesn't have very good effects, but it has like very good like black and white style.
How much gratuitous nudity is in that movie?
I think that it's basically all like dream sequences, yeah. And everybody's like, all these lesbians are sort of naked and they've got fangs.
I love it.
I gotta ask you guys a question here.
Yeah.
I need to know if these are B movies or not. The first one I'm gonna go, there's actually two Bill Paxton ones not Bill Paxton, Bill Pullman movies that I want to know, would you guys consider to be B movies? One's Lake Placid, which I love, where the alligators just eating people all the time. Is that a B movie?
I think it's too big budget to be a B movie.
Okay. I mean, okay. All right. What about this one? Lost Highway with Bill Pullman, the David Lynch movie.
That's film noir.
It's kind of like drawing on B movies, but not really. It's from a real studio, isn't it? They're not really. It has like production values and released through a proper.
How about this one? Lord of Illusions, Scott Bakula.
100%.
Do you remember that movie, Wasted?
I don't think so. Did you say Scott Bakula?
Yes, the guy from Quantum Leap.
Oh, yeah, I think I have. I think I've heard of that or something, yeah. What about Dracula Dead and Loving It? Is that a B movie?
It's a great movie. I mean, Leslie Nielsen, you gotta love Leslie Nielsen. I mean, yeah, I guess it would be considered a B movie, but I mean, it's fucking hilarious. It's not a horror movie, so we're trying to look for horror movies, you know? Like Lake Placid's a horror movie, Lost Highway's a horror movie. If I don't bring up these two movies, people are going to get mad at me. My buddy Tommy Meadows would literally kill me if I don't bring this up. The Hellraiser series.
Yeah.
I don't think the original would be a B movie, but the sequels were.
All right. What about Candyman?
I think it's, to me, they're
Again, I
more
think
like
it's
franchise movies from the real studios, aren't they? They're not. They don't have the low budget element to it, do they?
Yeah.
I think Candyman wasn't that expensive. I mean, you definitely the Hellraiser sequels were, you know, B movies. I mean, I'd almost consider the first. What about the what about the Lawnmower Man? Come on, guys.
the remake
like-
with Nicolas Cage.
No. The original Lawnmower Man from like the 90s.
That's like almost like virtual reality movie, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's still a horror movie.
Who's in that? Is that the same guy as in Scott Bakula?
No.
No, who was in that?
Let me take a look here. I just remember it being one of those shitty movies that was always on TV when I was a kid. Like it was late night on USA. It's like, hey, look, it's the Lawnmower Man. After this, the Lazarus Man.
Pierce Brosnan was in it with Jeff Fahey. If you remember
Jeff
him,
Fahey.
he was in Jeff Fahey. Yeah, he was in Lost, I believe, and of course, Pierce Brosnan was James Bond, right?
Jeff Fahey's a king of B movies. Him and like Teresa Russell used to make a bunch of movies in the 80s and early 90s. Like Jeff Fahey always used to either play like a drug dealer or a cop.
Yeah. Wait, I don't know if it had a $10 million budget, so released in 1992. So I would consider it a B movie. Yeah.
Wasted. Do you got any more, buddy?
What about The Fly? I know that it's like a remake of the 1958 movie called The Fly, and there was
I
like
consider it a B movie.
So the remake with Jeff Goldblum, where the fly gets into the teleportation experiment or whatever, and then Jeff Goldblum starts turning into a fly. It has like a really B movie vibe, but it probably did come from a major studio. But the original one in '58 was definitely a B movie, and it had two sequels, I think Return of the Fly and Curse of the Fly, and they were black and white. I think the original Fly in '58 was color, and then the Fly with Jeff Goldblum has a very B movie vibe to it. But it's not a B movie, really, is it? I don't know.
What about the Leprechaun? I mean, the whole series. I mean, Leprechaun Goes to the Hood. It's got to be a B movie. But the original Leprechaun with Jennifer Aniston.
Absolutely, 100%. That's a B movie.
That's a good
That was her first role, right?
I believe so.
Yes, sir.
What about Tales from the Hood?
It's a horror movie.
Is it a horror movie?
Or
was it like a horror comedy?
It's got, I don't know. It's kind of got aspects of it. You know what I mean? It's a black horror comedy. So, I mean, yeah, you give and take. I don't know if we've missed any.
Bernstein's in it, so he's a B movie actor.
Yeah, you would think. I don't know, dude. I mean, we could talk the Nightmare on Elm Street series. You can talk all the Halloweens after the second one until they did like H2O.
What about Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh yeah, that's a definite B movie. Good call, Wasted.
Yeah.
What about Straw Dogs?
Straw Dogs? I've never heard of that.
Oh, go look up Straw Dogs. It's fucked up. It's like Deliverance, but even a little more fucked up.
Straw Dogs, eh?
Yeah.
Starring Dustin Hoffman.
Come on, Wasted. You got to know that movie.
I've heard of that, Straw Dogs, but I tend to I didn't really watch a lot of a B movie style movies after the '80s. because I used to just watch them all, get them all from the VHS store, and that's when I used to watch them all. But then, and later they seem to be like not really B movies; they're more like B movie style movies. Like they're drawing on those, or they're like some kind of remake. Like Pet Sematary is not a B movie, is it?
No.
You wouldn't think so? I guess not. No, it's not a B movie.
Doesn't even have like the style. Like Scream is like based on B movies, isn't it?
Yes, but it's not.
Slasher, but it's not because it's a huge. But it's the Weinstein Company, so it's not really a B movie. I tried to watch. Was it Army of the Dead last night?
Oh yeah.
Because I think there's another one called. Is it Day of the Dead?
Oh, you're talking.
There's a bunch of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Army of the Dead though is not, because that was like a big budget Netflix thing where they just kind of went, Yeah. What isn't David Bautista in that movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very like lavish production wise, but it's all kind of zombie B movie. Like you watch the opening sequence of it, is almost like you think that that's the movie. I think it's directed by Zack Snyder.
Oh, well, there you go.
Like a follow-up to didn't he do Day of the Dead or Dawn of the Dead, and now he's doing Army of the Dead.
Listen, Dawn of the Dead's really good, and 300 was good by Zack Snyder, but after that man just completely lost his fucking mind.
Yeah, there's a lot of it's all the beginning of that movie is in Vegas. Army of the Dead, set in Vegas. It's very like flamboyant.
Well, Liars or Wasted, do you guys have any other horror B movies before we move on to our next topic?
Not really.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Let's do a follow-up right now. You remember last episode we talked about Dave Grohl cheating on his wife?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it turns out that Dave Grohl and his wife now are getting divorced, and it appears that Dave Grohl hired a lawyer before he made his announcement.
Makes some sort of sense.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, it just shows how pre-planned it was. Like, he knew what he did was effed up, but he made sure to drop it on a Friday afternoon to kind of keep himself out of the news cycle. And then, he had a lawyer already hired. Like, this is, he comes off as the nice guy. I mean, I love the Foo Fighters. I've been to the Foo Fighters. But the fact that, he hired a divorce lawyer before revealing he was cheating, I mean, this seems like the guy had things lined up in place.
I think not only the emo porn star girl, the one that's pregnant, there's other girlfriends that have come out in them and said that he also had an affair with me. So he's sort of like, he's turning into a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde character, I think, in his wife's mind anyway. He was like, to me, he was like the ultimate, like, clean-cut rock star.
I don't know, good guy Dave Grohl. Like, I don't know. I to be honest, I don't know much about this story. I like the Foo Fighters. I like them. I think Dave Grohl's interesting and whatever, but I don't know, man.
Well, he's also taking a break from the Foo Fighters right now. Like, the story was Foo Fighters set to take a indefinite hiatus after Dave Grohl's scandal comes out. So, they pulled out of all their upcoming gigs, and between Taylor Hawkins dying his best friend and now this cheating scandal coming out, this might be the end of the Foo Fighters for a good couple of years.
Maybe that's what he wanted.
Well, that's kind of a scary thing, man. You lose your best friend, then your marriage because you're cheating around, and now your band's not playing. So, like, what would kind of keep your mind off, your life kind of imploding? You're not even doing that. This is a story that I don't know ends well, because look at it this way. Dave Grohl was in Nirvana, then Kurt Cobain supposedly committed suicide, even though I think all of us believe that was murder. And so he was gone. So he was very tight with Kurt. That must have affected him greatly for a long time. And then his best friend, the longest tenured member of the Foo Fighters, Taylor Hawkins, died of a drug overdose. So you're talking about two of the people you're closest with that you made music with in your life are both gone. Murder, suicide, whatever it may be. Taylor's was definitely an accidental overdose, but, Kurt probably, from what we've seen. And if you ever watched, what was that movie or that documentary, Wasted? Something about bleach?
Soaked in bleach.
Yeah, where you can explain it a little bit real quick.
I think the main evidence in there is that Courtney Love was learning how to fake Kurt's handwriting, so that she could write an extra part to his suicide note, which made it look like it was a suicide note. There was lots of evidence, the basic evidence in that documentary, about him taking too much heroin to actually pull the trigger, the gun being on the wrong side of the body, everything looking staged, but there's some guy on YouTube who's bringing out a new book, and he's saying that he knows, he has eyewitness who knows who actually did it, that there was some kind of fight between Kurt and two other guys. I think it's Dylan Carson is his supposedly best friend. So he's saying that it's Dylan Carson and this other guy that was with him that may have hit him with a blunt object. But this is recent, allegedly, news that's just come out over the last few weeks.
Well, so you factor all that information in, and I'm sure that Dave Grohl was, paying attention to that too. Look at that man's headspace right now. Look at where he is. He's an older man now. He's in his 50s. You're no longer the young rock star traveling the world. You have kids. You have a marriage that's gone now. You have, two former bandmates that are no longer on this planet. I worry about his mindset. Now, he made bad decisions, and obviously there's consequences for that, which, is what it is. But I would be concerned because he seems like a very emotional guy that, he might take some bad turns. Let's hope he doesn't. Let's hope he finds peace and can come back from this and continue on making music. But I'm getting a bad feeling on this whole thing, and maybe I'm wrong. I'm hoping I'm wrong. But the whole thing, the divorce, where he went to the divorce lawyer, and I know it's a smart thing because you're talking millions upon millions of dollars and everything else, but, the level of planning there, it shows there's a lot of thought going into this whole matter. Do you get what I'm saying, Liarz? Am I overcomplicating it?
No, I don't think you're overcomplicating it. I just like what I said before. I think maybe he wanted to get out of the limelight, of the spotlight, I should say, and this is a path that he saw as a way to get out. And maybe it's gotten a little bit out of hand, and
but he's done this before where he wanted out of the limelight. They did I'm trying to remember the name of the record, but they did a whole record where, they just moved to a place out in the woods somewhere and set up a recording studio so they could get out of the city, get out of Hollywood, just to be away from everything. And he seems like a person that has been wanting to get away from it for a long time, even though, you see him on a bunch of things. They made the movie, and, he's always smiling and happy. But sometimes the people that are smiling and happy in public are the saddest people in the real world when they get alone. So I hope everything turns out better in the story. I hope for him, his soon-to-be ex-wife, the kids, all that shit, everything gets, organized and people go on with their lives and live happier lives. But I don't know, something about the story is, it's giving me that bad feeling. So let's hope I'm wrong, and let's hope that this ends in a good way. Hopefully, hopefully, 10 years from now, he's out touring and having a good time, and his family's good, and his ex-wife's good, and all that good shit. Speaking of kind of sad notes, our next topic tonight, because there's been so many deaths lately in Hollywood, and it's not like, a small-time actor died. I mean, we're talking actors that are incredibly famous. By the time the show comes out, there's probably going to be more, which is sad. It seems like now, since we've gotten older, that, a lot of people that we grew up watching they're just passing away really at a rapid rate. but in the last month, it's been a lot. Let's kind of go over the list. We record the episodes. They usually take about a week or two to come out, but a couple days ago, Taggart from Beverly Hills Cop, John Ashton, died. He was also in Midnight Run. Really enjoyed him. I'm really happy now that when I saw the new Axel F movie, the end of that movie, it's Taggart, Billy, and Axel singing in the car together, smiling and getting ready to drive off into their next adventure. But that one sucks. I mean, he was 76, which, hey, that's a good life. But, I have really fond memories of John Ashton. Does anyone want to comment on John Ashton?
Great actor. Great actor. And yeah. Everybody knows him as Taggart. But great actor. Yeah, it's sad.
Dude, what about Midnight Run as the other bounty hunter?
Yeah, no, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough. Another really good movie too, Midnight Run for sure. But he's Taggart, right? I remember him as Taggart. That's how I remember him.
He was perfect as Taggart. James Earl Jones passed, which, I mean, that is the voice of CNN, the voice of Mustafa, the voice of Darth Vader, and so many great movies. I mean, Field of Dreams, the Tom Clancy movies of Harrison Ford, Patriot Games, Clear and Present Danger, just Coming to America. I mean, James Earl Jones just had a great voice, and he looked like one of those people that you just want to have a conversation with. He reminds me of old time Hollywood, like a real movie star. When you see James Earl Jones, that was a real movie star.
Yeah. He's to me he's Darth Vader, and he'll always be Darth Vader. These are actors from movies when we were in our developmental stage, and so they kind of hold a different significance or meaning. Yeah. So that's sad.
It's a part of your life,
Absolutely.
Wasted, do you have any comments on John Ashton or our dearly beloved missing? We obviously miss him, James Earl Jones.
Yeah, I remember seeing I know that John Ashton was Taggart, wasn't he? But I also remember seeing the last time I saw him in a movie was, I think he was in Gone Baby Gone, wasn't he, as well? That's the one of the last movies I saw him in. I think it's a Ben Affleck movie or something. The Dennis Lehane movie. I think he was playing the cop in Gone Baby Gone as well. It's like a more of a straight, not a comedy role though.
Well, we also had Chris Christopherson pass, which, I always remember from country music, being on the Highwayman song.
Highwayman,
he was on Highwayman, right?
Yes, sir. Him, Johnny Cash, and only one of them left now, Willie Nelson.
Waylon Jennings.
Waylon Jennings, yeah. He was the fourth.
He was also, the caretaker in Blade.
Yes.
And he was in he was just in so many movies in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he impacted so many musical careers. And, I remember how kind he was to Sinead O'Connor, which I know you guys did that Nothing Compares to You episode but I remember that he was the one that, went up there and gave her a hug and told her everything was going to be all right. He seemed like a really good guy. And
genuine.
He was in the original Star is Born, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. So he passed away. Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader in baseball. The fact that he's not in the Baseball Hall of Fame is a fucking joke. I always remember him from WrestleMania 14 getting tombstoned by Kane. But Pete Rose, the guy who would be at every trading card expo signing autographs and he was the degenerate gambler, but hell of a baseball player. Charlie Swat,
So, Charlie Hustle.
I'm sorry. Charlie Hustle.
So let's look his major league records. Most career at-bats, most career plate appearances, most career hits, most career singles, most career times on base, most career outs, most career games played, most career winning games played. Only player to play at least 500 games at 5 different positions. Most career runs by a switch hitter. Most career doubles by a switch hitter. Most career walks by a switch hitter. Most career total bases by a switch hitter. Most seasons of 200 or more hits. Most consecutive seasons of 100 or more hits. Most consecutive seasons with 600 or more at-bats. Most seasons with 600 at-bats. Most seasons with 150 or more games played. And more seasons with 100 or more games played. Those are all the records that Pete Rose holds as of today. And the man is not in the Hall of Fame. The man is an absolute legend. Probably,
you can put an asterisk. You can say, hey, listen, he was a scumbag. He bet on baseball. Blah, 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 blah. You can do that.
Yeah.
But he belongs in the Hall of Fame.
100% he belongs in the Hall of Fame. This man, and he is he's a former Montreal Expo. So everybody knows him as a Cincinnati Red. I mean, he was a Red. That's Pete Rose. But he played for the Montreal Expos as well. So, I mean,
also WWE Hall of Famer.
Oh, WWE Hall of Famer. Yeah, man. Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's speak on the opposite side of scumbag, and because Pete Rose, he had some issues, being a gambler and shit. And I heard he wasn't the nicest fella. So we're going to talk about a guy that was just an angel on this planet and a hell of a basketball player, Dikembe Mutombo. Arguably, instead of Bill Russell, the best defensive center I've in the history of basketball. Bill Russell's number one. Dikembe Mutombo was number two. Dikembe Mutombo was an amazing basketball player. His little finger wiggle, that's, iconic. And him as a human being was just even better. Like, he did so much charity work over in Africa. He helped so many kids. He was a great human being. And, he died young. Brain cancer, I believe, is what got him. And that's just a sad one. But, he's up in heaven. There's no doubt. Like, Dikembe Mutombo is easily up in heaven. I mean, I just remember him on the Nuggets back in the day and even on the 76ers, and he was just another level of basketball player. Liarz?
I can't add much more to that. Just rest in peace, Dikembe. I mean, yeah, good guy. I remember that finger wag, and great player.
It's one of those things that it was brain cancer that he passed away from at 58. But I mean, people don't understand what a good human being he truly was. I mean, he really, really, really did so much. The charity work he did, I don't want to say it outshines a Hall of Fame career, but it's amazing how much he did. He helped the Republic of Congo so much. He did Basketball Without Borders, the NBA program, helping, kids learn how to play basketball over there. His humanitarian work. He was invited by George W. Bush to the 2007 State of the Union address. He's just a great human being. I mean, he opened up a $29 million 300-bed hospital in the outskirts of his hometown in Congo. He's just a good guy, and RIP to a real legend of a human being, and just a hell of a basketball player. Now, another one that happened recently, and this, I can't really name anything I ever remember this guy from except the Jackson 5, but I always remember him being a punchline. Tito Jackson passed away.
Oh, did he really?
Mm-hmm.
Part of the Jackson 5. Part of the Victory Tour. That's where Michael Jackson got his hair caught on fire, remember? That's I circled it back to Michael Jackson, but Tito
Poor
Jackson
Tito. That's what always happened in his life. Everyone always just circled back to Michael. Yeah,
he had a semi-successful solo career as a blues musician. So he's in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame as a member of the Jackson 5. So, I mean, he did get some accolades and some recognition, I would say.
Yeah. Well, it's just sad. He passed away of a heart attack, and obviously everyone, thoughts and prayers for his family. This isn't trying to be a bummer segment. We're just trying to bring up how many deaths there's actually been, and it's been insane. We're going to make the next one a little bit amusing. John Amos, also who starred in Coming to America with James Earl Jones, Mr. McDowell, who owned McDowell's. he recently passed away.
John Amos.
You don't remember
So he
from
went
other
out.
things?
So there's a rumor going around that John Amos died doing the deed. Is this true, Brasky?
I can't confirm it's true, but I believe I sent you the Instagram post from the young lady informing you of what happened.
So,
oh wow! Just before we'll get to the Instagram post, but I also want to mention this. He played the adult Kunta Kinte in Roots.
oh, did he really?
Yep.
I did not know that. No, I didn't know that.
He was also on Good Times.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yep. That's probably his most famous role is from Good Times.
Yeah. So before we get to how he went out, I just want to bring out that he was in so many films and so many movies, but. Yeah, so I sent you that thing from the Instagram post, and can you describe kind of what is being said and alluded to?
Okay, so we have John Amos sitting down in a chair, and there's this much, much younger woman standing beside him in a very skimpy bikini. Her name is Mariah Cobb, and she put on her Instagram, R.I.P. to a legend, John Amos. Remember, I put this pussy on you so good this day you could barely move. So, one thing led to another here, John, and popped a few too many Viagra and just got the heart racing a little too much, maybe. I don't know.
What a way to go out, though, like a fucking champ.
Legend.
I still go back to McDowell's. That's Coming to America is such an underrated movie, and since we lost both, James Earl Jones and John Amos, that I keep coming back to that. And the fact that McDowell's, just the brilliance, instead of calling it McDonald's, calling it McDowell's, and him going over how they're different. And but yeah, R.I.P. John Amos. I'm sure by the time the show comes out, we'll probably have some more passings, and it sucks. But I just thought this was a lot. This was a lot of famous people in a very short time that we all grew up with. We all knew from the TV and from the radio. So I wanted to bring it up.
Yep.
Wasted, you're on mute. You're not talking at all tonight. You've been an odd man.
Yeah, I don't know anything about these obituaries that much. I don't know who most of them are, I think. So I don't want to start butting in. Don't want to interrupt you.
Okay.
Yeah, Wasted. Thanks. Wasted, is there anything else on your mind?
I love you, Wasted.
Yeah. Just I want to know what you're doing right now. Well, what are you doing?
I'm in 7-Eleven. I'm sitting here turning the mute button on and off to protect you from the door.
Fucking door. And you can't record at your apartment for two reasons. One, it's too hot. And two, you got the crazy grandmother lady upstairs that just hates you and you're warring with her. So we got to find a solution. Well, people in the comment section are like, what the hell's going on here? We got a new listener. They're like, oh, well, yeah, the show's all right. And then they just hear ding, ding, and they hear in the background.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of people, but today is just the worst it's ever been. I don't know why. Maybe it's post-typhoon. People have been locked in their houses, and this morning is the clearest day. So they're all coming out to get supplies or something. But yeah, so many people have been coming in here.
Now, you just drinking beer there?
Yeah.
What time is it there, Wasted?
I think it's 12:52 now. So I've been drinking for 9, 10, 11. What? I've had like 4 or 5 beers.
Impressive.
Might have to go home and pass out. Well, you guys are like talking about obituaries. I was just downing a can.
So, have you ever got so drunk, walking home becomes an adventure for you?
Yeah, it's a bit risky around here. There's no pavements. There's traffic just going like 100 miles an hour. Got to be careful.
Yeah, you got the bikes.
Yeah, there's scooters everywhere. Asia's a very noisy place, basically. You don't get much personal space. Wherever you go, there's always some kind of noise or somebody even if you remember that episode I was sitting here maybe, and somebody just sat on the opposite side of that old guy came up and just sat opposite me because there was nowhere else to sit. He was like eating his rice, sushi rice right in front of me as I was doing the show.
Now, do the employees at 7-Eleven look at you that you're sitting down for 2 or 3 hours and just talking on your phone, drinking beer?
Not really, but they've locked the toilet. I think they may have overheard the show. So I'm sure I've been in here on the weekdays and it's open, and on Sundays they shut it so that I can't take a shit here. I think.
So first out laughing like that.
So
we locked the toilet.
So
you think they're on you for stealing the toilet paper?
Yeah. They might listen to the show because if it's on their Wi-Fi, they might see it come up. They might have Googled it or something.
Wow, that's amazing.
So the toilet's locked?
On Sundays it is.
How do you know it's only on Sundays?
Because I come here every day. Well,
okay.
Quite a lot of days. It's normally open. But on Sundays, at this time, it seems to be locked. It's locked but it's since I did that show when I was talking about it. But what they don't know is it's not the only toilet that I've been blocking. It's an epidemic.
Well,
so if you went up to them and asked to use the bathroom and pointed at the door, what would they say?
I don't know. The last time I asked them, it said no speak English. So, but I know where there's other toilets around here. I've scoped them all out. There's a toilet that's attached to that steakhouse there, barbecue steak place down the back. So I'll go to that one. Can't stop me.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Is this like becoming like an epidemic in there, like where you are in Taiwan? Are they like, is it starting to become like in the local news? Like, hey, listen, we got this guy who's clogging all the toilets, so we gotta shut it down. Can you please help us identify this man?
I'm a sort of Batman, kind of like the Batman of blocking toilets. A vigilante operates in secret under the cover of darkness.
So Wasted, you've had 4 or 5 beers and you haven't had to go to the toilet yet.
No.
I don't believe you.
I'm holding on now.
You're just holding on, huh?
Yeah.
So what's your plan?
Go back home.
How far is home?
Not far. Just round the corner. But it's back that way. And then down this alleyway.
You mentioned earlier the feud with your neighbor. She can hear everything. Do you think she can hear you when you're in the bathroom just taking massive shits?
Well, I can hear them taking a bath, so probably. Maybe that's the problem is they can hear me, so they think I can hear them. I'm not really sure. I don't know what their problem is. But yeah, I avoid them.
How's your toilet paper situation going right now? You were able to get some yet?
Yeah, I had to. I had to get some. I had to buy a few rolls. It's hard to keep living on the free napkins in restaurants.
Yeah, I don't think those are supposed to be flushed, buddy.
Definitely been using a lot of those 7-Eleven napkins.
How long until you're banned from 7-Eleven, bud?
I move around.
How many 7-Elevens are there by you?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's one on every corner. Really, here, almost on every corner.
Now, are the rest of them their toilets now shut down on Sunday? Is this like a corporate thing from 7-Eleven? Like, listen, we got an epidemic here with someone clogging our toilets on Sundays. We gotta lock them all down.
Yeah, I think it's just this one, maybe, because I come here more regularly, and they notice the pattern. That might just be it, the pattern. They say, well, who comes here on Sunday? Every Sunday, and why is the toilet always blocked on Sunday?
So the heat is on you, buddy.
Yeah, I might have to move venues.
Liarz, what do you think?
The life of Wasted is always intriguing, and he's always. You're an international man of intrigue. It's always interesting talking to you, Wasted, because I don't know what's going to happen next.
Expect the unexpected.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Oh, Wasted. I just want to know, how many beers do you know it's like too dangerous for you to walk home? Then you have to start eating stuff, and you got to take a few minutes to sit down. Do you have a number that's just like, okay, that's too many?
It's not. Yeah, it's not 5 or 6. 5 or 6 is like peak. Peak clarity.
All right. Well, I guess on that note, we're going to end the show tonight, and we'll be back soon. Liarz, you want to take us out?
Sure thing. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for the interaction on all platforms. Thanks for listening on Apple. Thanks for listening on Spotify, YouTube, of course, and Rumble, and all the other podcast platforms they have: Podbean, Castbox, etc. Hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Please tell us if you like the show. Tell us if you don't like the show. But thank you, and we'll see you again real soon. And on that note,
well, ladies and gentlemen, favor shame our next contestant, William Angio. All right, come on. we got a show to do.
You really suck, dude.
Wait a second.
Lovely.
How could I suck? I host a talent show, all right? I'm on national television, and I get paid a lot, all right? And I get chicks. Here, smell.
No, God.
All right? Oh, sorry, that was a sandwich. Smell.
No, I don't want to smell your food.
She wasn't even that fat, all right? So I'm not gay, all right? Whatever, let's get to it, okay? I am so desperate to hear you sing. I mean, last time you were fantastic. So you're going to do a Love Fist classic, right?
It was #1 in Germany for 19 weeks.
I'm sure you'll be fine. Are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right, it's favor shame for William Angio. Sector. Fantastic. I'm moist. Let's take a break before we hear from the judges and find out if that was fame or shame. Whew, what do you guys think? You want to come see my trailer later? Come on. Awkward. Come on.